Hello, everyone, and a warm welcome to our final SALMA Spotlight for 2025. I'm your host, Dr. Dumi Musheshe, and this series is dedicated to showcasing the incredible work of SALMA members who are advancing lifestyle medicine in South Africa. Each spotlight highlights not only the professional journey of our guests, but also the practical ways lifestyle medicine shows up in real clinical practice and in their own lives. Today, I'm joined by Leonie Augustine, a registered pharmacist with almost 4 decades of experience as a professional conscious coach, meditation teacher, Reiki practitioner, and co-founder of TLC Lifestyle Medicine and Wellness. Leonie's career is beautifully woven between science, mindfulness, energy work, and human transformation, and we can't wait to learn more from her. Welcome, Leonie.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm just so thrilled and also really deeply humbled that you could afford me this opportunity to me. So thank you.
Thank you, Leonie. So, Leonie, let's get to know you a little bit better. Let's talk about your journey, your passions, and what brought you to lifestyle medicine. So, you've been a pharmacist, registered as a pharmacist since 1986, has nearly 4 decades in the healthcare system. So, what actually drew you to pharmacy originally before we even get into lifestyle medicine? What is it that brought you to lead into pharmacy?
Yes, good question there. I actually lean towards medicine. And growing up in the apartheid era, those days were quite difficult and quite challenging. And I landed up selecting pharmacy. I was in the library one day thinking really deeply about how I really wanted to serve others, humanity, and also have a wonderful career or profession that I could benefit from as well. And in the library, I stumbled across pharmacy, which I didn't know much about. And I thought, well, next best thing to medicine. This looks great. I can serve people on this level with healing. And yeah, applied to Rhodes University, was there from 1982 to 1985, and then numerous stints in mainly in hospital pharmacy. So most of my career was in hospital pharmacy, private and public, first 10 years in the public sector, and then the latter part in retail.
Oh, wow. So like you said, you've worked in hospital and community. So what is it about these environments that made you change or influence your understanding of health and patient behavior?
Yes. To me, for many years, walking that dispensary floor and just noticing this repetitive pattern of people coming for their medication year in and year out, and knowing, I had this deep knowing that surely there is a better way to live. Surely there's something we can be doing to prevent all, this repetitive. And don't get me wrong, may I say at the outset, totally not against medication. I am a pharmacist, and after all, there is a place for medicine. We are human, we age, we injure ourselves. So there'll always be that place. But I had this deep inner knowing that there was a better way. And I became very curious about this. I knew I wanted to serve and support people on a deeper level. And this curiosity really is what drove me to seek what are the drivers of true sustainable wellness and well-being. And it's been quite a journey over, I'd say, about 15 years or so, where it then became my mission. and my purpose. And as I said, led me far beyond the framework of conventional medicine.
Wow, that's amazing. And even in your CV here, you tell us that in 1999 you even won an award for the National Award for Pharmacy Excellence in Specialty Management. That's a serious recognition. So, after having achieved such recognition, at which point did you feel that was time to move beyond conventional medicine, conventional pharmacy, and lead into like you say, this more holistic practice? Yeah.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Tumi. I eventually began to feel like a fraud
Hmm.
behind that counter in the dispensary.
Interesting. Hmm.
And it was quite troubling. And I kept saying to my husband, I need to do more for others. And he kept asking me, what is it you would love to do? And I considered going back and studied psychology because I saw firsthand how people were struggling mentally and emotionally. And then, of course, the chronic diseases like diabetes, cardiac disease. And in 2010, I was struck down with tuberculosis, where I was forced to stay home, uh, being a notifiable, highly contagious disease. And in this month at home where I started my medication, I knew deep down that this wasn't happening to me. This was happening for me. And in that time, I did a lot of research, a lot of really, really deep inner reflection. And yeah, beginning of 2012, walked into work, handed in my resignation, put all the faith and trust in myself as well, and signed up for a really intense consciousness coaching diploma. Yeah, and that set me off on my journey. The consciousness coaching and led with all the studies and readings I've been doing on how to support people more on a mental and emotional level. The unfolding just continued. I was trained by and certified in teaching meditation for daily stress by a monk who lived in the Himalayas for 15
Wow.
years. And
Yeah.
then quite extensive self-studies and the science of well-being. What is a mind? Uh, Also, some positive psychology studies. And then eventually, one day, came across this beautiful term, salutogenesis, and did further research and discovered this was so aligned with where I wanted to go. Because as you know, salutogenesis, this is healthcare for the next century because it focuses on the origins of our health, all the factors that support and enhance human health and well-being. And it's aimed at preventing and often reversing illness as well. So my
Similar to
coaching,
medicine. Yeah.
yes. So my
Yeah.
coaching then really aimed and focused at supporting and empowering others to take a proactive role in their personal growth, their personal mastery and wellness, so that they could thrive instead of just survive. And so my coaching is very holistic in addition to addressing the personal goals of my clients. They also take on commitments for their physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual wellness.
Yeah, yeah, like you say, that there's a lot of components to it. There's a bit of positive psychology, hallucinogenesis,
Yes.
mindfulness philosophy. What connects all these disciplines for you as a coach, and how it it leads, towards lifestyle medicine. And then you also mentioned that you've done Reiki training. I
Mm.
think a lot of us would love to know a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So to me, we are we have multiple dimensions as a human being. We're not just this human being. We have the mind, we have the spirit, emotions, and all of these are deeply interconnected, integrated, and interdependent. And I don't think it's any coincidence that I am where I am with my pharmaceutical and medical knowledge, my mindfulness, etc., because all of these aspects of us, they depend on one another. So, for example, I found with my clients that I was coaching, yes, they were attaining their goals they set for themselves, but it was so significant when I saw the person they were becoming. So, besides the goals, more importantly, was the person they were becoming when they integrated and worked on all these aspects of themselves. So yeah,
Wow.
we cannot only be addressing, for example, exercise, and yet we don't have solid practices daily for purifying and calming the mind. Because if you don't do that, any exercise routine, yeah, you're still going to be left stressed and impacted with your immune system and your overall health. So
Sounds like a
so I
lot of
love the six pillars of Salma, just beautifully aligned with the work I was currently doing. Sorry
Yeah,
to
you found it
interrupt you.
perfectly in time. Sorry, no. And then just speaking about lifestyle medicine and mindfulness being one of the strongest pillars in lifestyle medicine. We talk about creating awareness, and that's specifically awareness creations with you.
Mm.
Can you explain what these tools are and how they help your clients transform?
Yes. So we have these unique tools and distinctions, and I'd like to call them daily practices, which is unique to consciousness coaching, which we call awareness creations, that really raises our levels of awareness. And I'll give you an example. In the very first session with my clients, I share with them our unconditional ability to transform being charged up, for example, with anger, uh, being able to transform that energy, because emotions are energy, and we have this unconditional ability to transform, for example, the energy of anger into a passion or a purpose of our choice. We can channel it. Another example is the power of our word, how we can
Mm,
use the power of our word to create whatever we desire for our lives. There are many others. We have an awareness creation, very importantly, around integrity.
wow.
Exactly what integrity is. Because
Mm,
so often we are in integrity with others very easily, keeping our word, etc. But the one we fail most of the time is ourselves. "Ah, the alarm
yeah.
goes off this morning for my gym. Like, I can do that tomorrow." And our subconscious mind is this register of all your promises kept and all your promises fulfilled. It's like a bank balance. So the more
Yeah.
you compromise your integrity, it's like a big cross in your bank balance in your subconscious mind. Whereas whenever you fulfill your promises, you come through for yourself. There are these ticks. And then when you do have to make a really big important decision, if you have been 80% or more, in alignment with your integrity, you will come through for yourself. Whereas if
Mm.
not, if you're always compromising and saying, oh, I can leave this, when you do have this big, important commitment, your subconscious will say, ah, Leonie, you always cancel or never can. Guess what? You will not do it. So these are the type of awareness creations,
That's
many others like the ladder of power in communication.
wow.
And it's so significant to me because I have an exit interview after the coaching engagement with all my clients, and I get them to acknowledge their growth and achievements from the coaching. And the one significant thing all of them share is how more self-aware and generally they are aware they are.
Wow, that's beautiful. And that's really the core principle of mindfulness, being aware, being present,
Yes,
and non-judgmental.
absolutely.
Yeah. So finally, before we move on to our next segment, Leonie, you say here that you're the co-founder of TLC Lifestyle Medicine and Wellness. What was your vision in starting this platform, and what kind of gaps do you think you're hoping to fill with TLC?
Goes right back to me to this my deep commitment, and I've made it my mission because I know there is a better way. We do not have to wait for crisis. And even if we have been born with genes for a certain disease. I know a wellness coach that I collaborate with, and she says you can come with the loaded gun, but you don't have to pull the trigger. I know that with this ever emerging field of epigenetics, yes, we cannot change our genes, but we can certainly change the environment of our genes and the way they express themselves, so that we will be healthier and we will not get that diabetes that our parents had or that cardiac disease. And lifestyle medicine works. It's evidence-based. There's been over 5 decades of evidence. So this is my deep commitment to really helping people to take proactive action, to empower themselves, as I said earlier, to thrive and not just to survive. We do not have to wait for illness. And at the moment, I'm a host on a proactive wellness platform in South Africa called October Health, where every Wednesday morning I host the stress management system segment for them. So there are a lot of gaps that TLC Lifestyle Medicine and Wellness can really be of assistance in the workplace, at schools, one-on-one with people, just supporting them and sharing knowledge and science. I find when you share the biology and the science behind who we are, my clients are so much more motivated to make those changes and know that they can.
Yeah. That's the power of lifestyle medicine, which is evidence-based behavior change, which is rooted in science. I think
Yes,
we are able to understand that when we know, when you can explain to your clients or your patients what's happening internally, um,
yes,
that you're an expert at a medical textbook, but a person is an expert at themselves. And if we
yes.
finally meet each other in the middle, I believe outcomes will be much, much better than where they've been now. So, as you say, we've entered the future. This is lifestyle medicine. This is where it should go. And, your career has been remarkable and really a testament that one never has to stay the same. We can always change and we can
Absolutely.
always grow. And there was at no point where any decision in your career was not contributing in always, like,
Absolutely.
and I hope that your story inspires a lot of people to understand that, if you don't feel safe or comfortable or happy in your career anymore, there is more. You can do
Yes,
more. You can take that plunge any time. So yeah, you're really an
absolutely.
inspiration, Leonie.
Absolutely, Tumi. I often say that to my clients. You're never too old to dream a new dream or set a new goal. And so
Amazing.
somebody said to me the other day, we were talking about nutrition, and he said to me, "Are you going to die anyway?" I said, "Yes, but you live every day and you have full control over how you live. Yes, we're all going to die." And so we certainly can choose how we want to live. And on your deathbed, say, "I did my best and I
Amazing.
lived my life."
Great. So that will be the end of the first segment. We've gotten to know Leonie a little bit better. In our next segment, we're going to be talking about her experience with lifestyle medicine. Wow. Thank you again, Leonie, for sharing your journey with us. It's such a powerful evolution, actually. And like we say, we're going into the future. So, as a lifestyle medicine advocate, we are now going to invite you to share a story about either a clinical case or a personal experience. Um, I think you're going to share with us a personal experience, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Thank you, Tumi. So not being a medical practitioner, and I don't yet have my lifestyle medicine certification, definitely on the cards coming soon. So my whole approach and why I'm such a strong advocate for lifestyle medicine, it's really grounded in my personal experience. And I think, firstly, with my own 100% whole food plant-based journey, this unfolding, which led me here, like this evolution, my personal pursuit. My personal pursuit over many years of consciousness and spirituality led me to become vegan. And as you know, part of veganism is 100% plus plant-based nutrition. So, I speak from both professional training and really
Nice.
a lot of personal experience about the incredible benefits of a whole food, plant-based diet. Just
Yeah.
the physical vitality, the emotional balance, the clarity of mind and the focus with this mindful eating that comes from living in alignment with nature's wisdom. And also it supports the innate intelligence and wisdom of our own bodies uh, for
Yeah.
self for self-healing and optimizing our health. So it's
Sorry.
been quite an authentic experience in addition to my daily mindful living and some of my personal benefits. It was becoming vegan and adopting
Oh,
100%.
sorry, Leonie. Just sorry to interrupt you there. So why don't we just maybe, because we're not going to be doing a clinical case, why don't we
Hmm.
just maybe start with, like, when did you decide to change into a more whole food plant-based eating, and how and what were some of the triggers that made you change this lifestyle, and where were you physically um, before you, because I know you've just said that you had all this benefit of mental
Yes,
clarity,
yes.
um, but most of us don't make these decisions lightly of changing eating patterns, and you've said veganism, it's more than just an eating pattern. It's the
Yes,
whole lifestyle.
lifestyle.
But with regards to lifestyle medicine, we talk about whole food,
Mm.
plant dominant eating, and I think there is a
Yes,
big difference between whole food eating or so maybe we can just touch into a little bit of that in terms of how were you before you decided to change the way you were eating, and then how did changing your eating pattern
mm.
end up influencing all the pillars
Yes,
of
yes,
medicine. Yeah.
absolutely. So going back, many years ago, I stopped eating red meat because with on this journey I was on, I learned to start listening to my body, and I discovered that eating red meat was the cause of my migraines and nausea. So I gave that up long before I knew about whole food plant-based eating. And also with all the mindfulness studies and me applying it, a huge part of mindfulness is about compassion, especially self-compassion. And I then realized that I wanted to extend my compassion to animals. So that was my reason. And I was vegetarian for a while, but then virtually overnight, I went vegan. And even though it wasn't initially about my health, the health benefits were quite profound. For many years, I had my medical doctor saying to me, Leonie, cholesterol, it's a concern, statins. And I would be like, no, I'll keep trying. I'm exercising, etc. And with my first blood tests with my medical doctor, shortly after adopting a plant-based diet, she called me a few days later with my results, and everything was really good. And she says, guess what happened to your cholesterol? And obviously, my cholesterol had come right down. And as I said, there were many other benefits mentally, physically. I was so energized. Um, in my family, we always had this rash behind, I always had this rash behind my arms, and we would say, oh, it's genetics. Look, my brother has it, my nephew has it. But I promise you, literally, for the shortest while after adopting plant-based, I was in the bathroom one morning and I thought, oh, nice smooth. So there were significant, noticeable, felt differences in my mind and body when
Okay,
I
wow,
adopted.
interesting. Yeah, no, I mean, and it's definitely very evidence-based about the cholesterol.
Yes,
There are strong research evidence studies that have been done which have proven that eating in a plant-based eating pattern, particularly adding soluble fibers or increasing soluble fibers in your diet and reducing
yes,
saturated fats, which generally come from cheeses or animal products
yes.
like fatty red meats and stuff like that. Being able to remove those or reduce those in your diet, whether you decide to go
Mm,
vegan or plant predominant, is going to have profound effects on your cholesterol. And
absolutely.
it's absolutely amazing that that's also happened
Yes.
um, to you. While we're on the topic of veganism, Leonie, I would love for you to just explain the difference between whole food plant-based eating
Mm,
versus some of the more commercially marketed vegan foods,
mm.
and sort of what do you believe the concern should be, because ultimately lifestyle medicine talks about unprocessed
Yes.
foods.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, I'll let you just to elaborate on that.
Yes, so just as we have the non-plant-based junk food, we have the vegan, and I'll call it junk food because
Mm.
it's overly processed and also mostly contains something like coconut oil. So coconut oil, even though it's a plant oil, it's still saturated. So a lot of the vegan cheeses, baked goods, etc., out there is still heavily laden with a saturated fat like coconut oil, also preservatives, colorants, etc. And that is just as unhealthy for one as non-vegan. So, it's still important to adhere to the whole food, plant-based foods that's going to enhance all the health systems of the body.
Yeah, no, I think it's so true, and I think it's something worth highlighting. That even in your caring against cruelty for animals, this lifestyle change can also lead to health benefits.
Yes.
We've spoken about nutrition and we've spoken about mindfulness. I don't want to expose your age, Leonie, but let's just say she's old enough to be my mother. So, Leonie, tell us about how physical activity, particularly resistance training, is very good for us as growing and as we get
Mm.
older, and how that has how your exercise routine, maybe what you've done, has helped you age so gracefully.
Oh, let's just say I was born in the early 60s. You- To me, you will discover as you age, every season will demand a different you, different values. You have to relook at what you're doing to adapt as you age. And exercise was a big one. I was a really keen runner. I did high impact aerobics. I could do 2 classes of high impact aerobics, one after the other. And then I found as I aged, the running was not suitable for my body anymore. And I started investigating things and trying yoga, Pilates, and walking. So I adapted over the years to choose an exercise, firstly, which I really enjoy. It's so important that the exercise and movement you choose, you must enjoy it. So currently and also obviously as you old and get older, you go through menopause, your bone density becomes really crucial. And here some weight bearing exercise, strength training is important. And I'm not obsessive about it. I work with my body. I'm gentle with my body, but I ensure weekly walks are non-negotiable. In fact, before our
Mm.
session, I was outside walking barefoot in the rain, which I love.
Lovely.
So brisk walking for me most days of the week, minimum 4 days, is very important to me, to get that cardio in. I also do yoga, and I have a light set of weights in my bathroom, where I lift a bit. And yoga, the wonderful thing about yoga is that it works your whole being, your mind, body, and spirit. And it includes a lot of strength and flexibility, because flexibility is another big thing as you age. You don't want to be
Mm.
walking like this. So
Mm.
I ensure I get good amounts of all of that in in my weekly training. And then, of course, the body's designed to move, right? We were never engineered for this sedentary lifestyle. And there's so much you can do during the day. When my water's boiling for my tea, I do my push-ups on my kitchen counter, or I
Wow, yeah.
or I take a walk outside where I have a mini trampoline and I do some jumps. I've got a skipping rope, or just walk around the house barefoot in the rain.
Yeah, like that's amazing. And I love that you are highlighting that it doesn't have to be the usual sitting in the gym, standing in the gym and
Yes,
doing these massive weight lifts. I mean,
absolutely.
Pilates, yoga, those are excellent types of strength training, and they're more suitable to different people's personalities
Yes, yes,
and the variety of exercise, and also
mm,
just the importance of something as simple as brisk walking.
yes,
You don't have to be a comrades runner to be able to be
yes.
healthy, and so I love that that's what you've integrated into your life. So before we wrap up this segment, just the other two pillars that we haven't really touched on are
Mm.
sleep and social connection. So
Mm.
just in a quick 2 minutes, just let us know how in your personal life, lifestyle medicine pillars, sleep and social connection, how they've worked for you.
Oh, love it, love it. Social connection is crucial for me. Uh, having grown up in the 60s where it was a big thing, you made the time. I can remember every Sunday afternoon, all the relatives' cars pulling up outside our house and everybody would get together. You knew your neighbor, etc. So social connection has always been very important for me. Um, Even in my daily life, just checking in with that barista making my coffee, or a smile at that cashier serving you, how are you today? Those moments of social connection. We all have that opportunity every day. But I'm quite deliberate about setting up specific time with. I have a very dear friend where we set aside time weekly or every second week to actually get together and spend some time together. So, social connection is crucial for our well being, for all of us. And then sleep. I say sleep as if your life depends on it, which it does. Too few people know of how crucial restorative sleep is. For example, it is only during deep sleep that the housekeeping of the brain takes place, where a fresh supply of nutrients come in, and the toxins and buildup of certain harmful proteins are removed from the brain. And then, secondly, something as crucial as memory consolidation takes place during sleep. And it's amazing, during sleep, you can come up with solutions that you may have been seeking, and you wake up in the morning and like, wow, I could do this. And it's been proven as well. You
Yeah.
know, so sleep is crucial. And I
So tell
repeat,
us about your bedtime routine. I know you find that very sacred.
yes, and I love that you use the word sacred, uh, because it's then that's time where I do not compromise on. I have a set bedtime. My husband tries to tempt me sometimes to watch something on TV, but he knows I'll say, I have a timer on my phone that beeps time for PJs and bedtime, time to rest you and restore your brain and your body. And I do not compromise on that, unless, of course, there's something out the ordinary. If we had guests 2 weeks ago and we stayed up till like 11 at night, and I felt it the next day. So I really, sleep is crucial to me, and I experience the benefits because it's so
Yeah.
important for our stress management, emotional regulation, the ability to focus and be creative, because it has this massive impact on our brain, and our immunity.
Yeah, that is so true. And one of the simplest things, like Leonie's saying, is just commit to a regular bedtime and wake up time, and try and get 7 to 9 hours in between that. So we're about to move on to our third segment. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. So that was Leonie sharing her personal experience with lifestyle medicine. In our next segment, I'm going to ask her to give us some tips on each pillar that you can take home with you. Okay, wow, Leonie, thanks for sharing all of these beautiful insights about your personal life. So to close off, as I said, we will be asking Leonie for some actionable tips that we can take home today. Let's call this a free consultation with a lifestyle medicine specialist. So let's just take it away. We'll start with nutrition. Leonie, what's your top daily nutritional tip that somebody can do? Just one tip.
It's important that we take small incremental steps to me. As they say, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. When it comes to nutrition, I would say, I would advise something as like just add at least one more vegetable, like a green vegetable, to your plate
Yeah.
daily, or just one fruit. When you tell somebody you must eat 5 fruits and vegetables a day, they're going to turn and run away.
Mm.
So just start small. Add
Yeah.
one extra serving of vegetables, eat one fruit a day, one glass of water. But because we are focusing on a plant predominant diet, just start with one extra veg on your plate. And I would say when you start your meal, take 2 spoonfuls or forkfuls of that veg first before you eat
Yeah.
the rest of your plate.
That's a nice one. Add one extra vegetable and eat it first. So that's a very, very good
So,
tip.
to our listeners, here's the coach in me coming out. What is one vegetable you could easily add to your plate today?
Awesome. Love that. Okay, so in terms of our second pillar, physical activity,
Hmm.
what one movement tip can anyone start today?
Something as simple as just a short walk after a meal.
Nice. Yeah.
Okay, just a 10-minute walk after a meal. This will improve your glucose control, your digestion will be supported. Um, so choose a meal in your day, whichever meal you can comfortably do a little walk after. And then, as I mentioned earlier, also we can include those little short movement breaks into our day. While your water's boiling for you to go for a 2-minute brisk walk, even if it's up and
Yeah.
down your passage.
A
So
little
little
exercise.
Yes, a little, and it's so much easy to tie if you're trying to build a new habit to tie it to an existing one. So it's after I brush my teeth, for example, I will bend down and lift the weights in my bathroom cupboard.
Nice.
After
Nice.
my
Cool.
lunch, I will do my 10-minute walk. Just what? Just one. Just choose one.
Just fun. Awesome. So this one is definitely your specialty. What is just one super quick mindfulness or stress management hack? I know if people want to know more, they should join the October health sessions on a Wednesday at 8:30, free for the public and live. Um, let's just tell us one quick stress mindfulness hack that you have for us.
Breathe.
Breathe.
We all of us, our breath is immediately available and accessible to us. We do not have to take time of the day. So I would say just take a nice breath in and a longer breath out, whatever's comfortable for you. Like breathe in for a count of 4, breathe in for a count of 6. And also tie that to an activity. For example, when I sit down at my desk, I will, for a minute, take a nice deep inhalation and a long exhalation, and this resets the nervous system beautifully. Or when you walk into a meeting or into you're going to be having a difficult conversation, or don't necessarily wait for that. Start practicing it right now and then it
Right.
becomes a habit.
So that's perfect. Take one deep breath, 4 seconds in, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 6 seconds out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that is just resets your vagus nerve and your nervous system altogether. Leonie, sleep hygiene is definitely
Mm.
one of your little sacred moments.
Mm.
Simple tip can you give somebody to support their better sleep hygiene?
The most simple one, and you've mentioned it earlier, choose a fixed lights out time. And so uh, establish a regular bedtime, going to bed and waking up in the morning, even on weekends. So that would be my number one tip. Choose a fixed time for lights out and a wake up time in the morning.
Excellent. I think that's the simplest, easiest one to start with. Um, so you mentioned about growing up and how social connection was just pivotal,
Mm.
but nowadays with social media, that's always not so easy.
Yes.
We find ourselves connected more through the phone than we are face to face.
Mm.
So what would be a practical way to nurture meaningful connection in this day and age?
So, firstly, as I said, we can do this in our day, checking in with that co-worker at work, your lady serving you at your coffee shop or in the restaurant, just those little brief moments of connection. It makes a huge difference to your well-being and the person you are checking in with. And then
Mm,
also, I would strongly advise an intentional check in just with one supportive person weekly. If you can't meet up in person, which I know a lot of people don't have the time to set up an hour, make it a video call.
mm,
This texting, first of all, it can cause a bit of disharmony and you don't really know what the person's trying to say. So if you can't meet up in person, an intentional video check-in with one supportive, dear person weekly, whether it's your friend, your mom, your sibling, just with one person.
all right, that's very helpful. I'm definitely going to go call my bestie after this. um, so the final pillar that we're going to talk about is substance use or risky behaviors,
Mm.
especially in December and with all our stressful
Yes.
lifestyles, we all lean towards whether your poison is a glass of wine or a strawberry
Mm.
milkshake, equally as a
Mm.
risky behaviors.
Mm.
Um, what is your one tip for reducing harmful habits or increasing awareness around
The only way to really shift habits is to also determine the identity of the person you want to become. So knowing that these risky substances are so harmful to our overall health. If you're a smoker, I would say if you're trying to cut down, knowing the detrimental effects of smoking, determine how many cigarettes you're having in a day and start cutting down daily. If you've been working on it, go with one smoke-free day per week to start with. If it's alcohol, one alcohol-free day, or if you normally have 3 glasses of alcohol, especially this festive season, have a glass of water beforehand. Because just by drinking water, you're saying to your body, I'm a healthy person. I hydrate. Have a glass of water before your first glass of alcohol. And then try and cut it down. If you're going to have 3, cut it down to 2 and have that glass of water before each one. So just slow. Cut it
Amazing.
down
Slow
slowly.
steps,
Slow,
just
little
in the
steps.
spirit of lifestyle medicine. I love how your all of your 6 tips are very, very much in keeping with what lifestyle medicine is about. Small, measurable, attainable,
Yes,
realistic, and time-bound goals.
time
In other
bound.
words, baby steps. So be have your baby steps, set a goal, set your timeline, and
Yes,
really boost your knowledge or boost your change based on knowledge so that you
yes,
don't apply judgment to yourself but
yeah,
rather
yeah,
awareness, which is
yes.
which I think is really quite important. So Leonie, thank you so much for sharing your journey, your wisdom, and the incredible work that you're doing in lifestyle medicine and the consciousness coaching space. Good luck for the next year as we go in. And to our listeners, this episode is here on YouTube, and we'd really like to invite all our members in SALMA to be or South African Lifestyle Medicine Association to join us for more spotlights. We want to share your experience of lifestyle medicine. We want people to know that lifestyle medicine is more than just a job or a diploma, but it's a calling and it's
Mm.
an experience. And we are this community. And so, if you're not a member of South African Lifestyle Medicine Association, I hope this is your call to action to sign up and join our membership and enjoy this beautiful community which we have. And if lifestyle medicine feels like it's the way forward for you, in making your lifestyle changes, please go onto our website where we have a list of practitioners who are registered in lifestyle medicine to be able to support you. And so thank you so much. Happy New Year to all our listeners. And we really wish you a fulfilling 2026. And all 6 pillars will be improved next year. Thank you, Leonie.
Thank you so much to me and have a wonderful festive season. Take care, everybody.
Bye bye.